There are more Armenians living outside of Armenia than in their native homeland. And the first Armenian settled in Fresno in the year 1881. He was a merchant from New England who grew tired of the brutal winters and found the climate of the Central Valley was much more pleasant and similar to the climate in Armenia. Armenians seeking refuge from Ottoman war crimes soon followed, and by the late 1800s, a thriving Armenian community became established in Fresno. Despite their contributions to business, agriculture, and literature, they faced much prejudice until the 1950s. Today, around 50,000 Armenians live scattered throughout the city, and very little remains of the old Armenian quarter. But one building that has survived is the Holy Trinity Church. Rebuilt at its present location after a fire in 1914, is the second oldest Armenian apostolic church in America, and by far the most iconic landmark of the Armenian diaspora in Fresno. One of Fresno's most iconic landmarks is the Old Water Tower. Designed by a Chicago architect who was influenced by the Great Chicago Fire and originally wanted to incorporate a library and third floor. Completed in 1894, it ceased operations in 1963, and since 2001 it has been serving as a visitor center. This beautiful building you see over my shoulder is the St. John Cathedral. In 1902, the city's original Roman Catholic cathedral was torn down and replaced with the current cathedral, which was built in the Gothic Romanesque revival style. Fresno does have some nice attractions, but sadly a lot of the rumors you hear about Fresno are true. And this, where we were earlier, was fine, but this downtown area feels really sketchy, so I don't want to stick around here for very long. I'll probably just film what I can and add the rest in voiceovers later. This Queen Anne style home was built in 1889 to serve as the home of a Tennessee Army doctor named Thomas Richard Moy. His brother was killed in the Battle of Shiloh and is also notable for establishing the 9th Tennessee Infantry Regiment during the onset of the Civil War. In 1887, him and his family decided to move to Fresno. Here he established a vineyard and continued to work as a doctor. During that time, this whole area was rural land, and he only had one other neighbor. The home is noteworthy in that it remained within the same family for almost a century and remained virtually unaltered. In recent years, there have been ridiculous talks about changing the name due to Moy's connection to the Confederate Army. I won't be promoting or encouraging people to come to Fresno anytime soon. I love history and I love culture, so I wanted to explore a new side of my state, but yeah, honestly, it's not a very good tourist destination.
Some love, I'll never know where you're at. The only time you love me is when my wallet's big and fat. I holler, hey, hey, what kind of woman is that? Tell me, baby, why do you treat me mean when your friends are listening? You make a public scene, hey, hey.
Following the aftermath of World War II, all throughout the United States, cities began constructing these aptly named Japanese Friendship Gardens as a way to honor the Japanese impact on American society and also to make friendship. And the Shinzen Japanese Friendship Garden was officially opened in 1981. This area we're in right now is actually the high-end neighborhood, and right here we have a beautiful traditional style Japanese tea house.
し色車の水車できはざんざ
I have a peacock performing a mating dance right behind me. Oh wow. The name of the species is actually peafowl because there's the peacock and the peahen.
알아요 이요 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 이竹の芯太郎さんの登らす日냐 잠자 잠자 미지냐 미즈가
Okay, so not all of Fresno was bad. This place was truly amazing and by far the highlight. I want to experience a bit more of Fresno's Armenian culture. So I'm grabbing some Armenian food from this restaurant that's right across from my hotel. Yeah, not bad. The lamb and rice were the best part of that dish. Meatball wasn't bad either. The final leg of my journey takes me to the Yosemite National Park.
Calling out my name. He's been gone a long time. Ain't no play no games. I gotta run like the devil. I gotta run like the devil. I gotta run like the devil. Gotta get the hell on out of here.
Yosemite has origins in the 1860s as California's first state park, before being ceded to the federal government in 1890, thanks largely to the efforts of renowned Scottish-born writer and naturalist John Muir. The first confirmed sighting of the Yosemite Valley by a non-indigenous person occurred in October of 1849. And by the 1850s, pioneers in search of gold began to settle the valley and establish small pioneer villages like this one here at Winona. The village would be accessed via these wooden covered bridges. It was inevitable that tension with the natives would soon arise. A tension which would ultimately culminate in the local natives being killed or driven out of the valley. A painful but significant chapter in the birth of one of America's most beautiful national parks.
Znaczy nie Werner, tylko Wright. To zobaczcie, Yosemite Falls, to są nie widać Yosemite. To jest chyba Werner Falls. Nie, to nie jest Werner.
Today the park is famous the world over, not only for its spectacular glacial valleys, but for having one of the highest density of waterfalls on Earth, amongst which is the 2,425-foot high Yosemite Falls, which by some methods of measurement ranks as not only the highest waterfall in California, but also the highest in North America and 5th highest in the world. In recent years, the park has become so popular that they've had to introduce a reservation system to combat over-tourism and parking issues. So check the National Park website for details if you're planning to visit this natural wonder.
Ten jest Bright Bay. Tego nie wiem.
Well, my wife had never been there, so I packed her in the car. We drove, it seemed forever, for my dreamland's very far. And the miles turned into music, and the tires rolled right along. So we approached our destination, and the subject of this song, Yosemite. You have no idea what you mean to me, and my words cannot express the grandeur that you possess. Each rock and stream blends in my dream, Yosemite.
The park's most iconic man-made landmark is this chapel you see behind me, constructed in 1879 and designed by a San Francisco architect in a Gothic carpenter style, typical of New England chapels. It has stood at its present location since 1901, where it has played host to many weddings and photo shoots. Oh wow, and this is the reason so many people come to Yosemite National Park. It's spectacular waterfalls, and right behind me is the most famous and spectacular one, Yosemite Falls. You haven't officially been to Yosemite until you hiked to at least one waterfall and been sprayed. It's been over a decade since I last visited this place. I forgot how beautiful it was, and I was now slowly reminded why so many people have visited this park every year. Over there you can see the iconic half dome. This whole park is composed of granite outcrops. This very well may be the most beautiful park in California.
Yosemite for me, Yosemite, your granite cliffs, how they encompass me, and I smile at old half dome, and I know that I am home.
I want to learn a bit more about Yosemite's indigenous history, so I've come to the Yosemite Museum.
One stage next. Thank you.
Before the white settlers came here, these are the sorts of villages you would have found scattered throughout the valley. Yes, right here is a roundhouse where they would have conducted their ceremonies.
Tam żelkami tam.
The famous El Capitan. Now have a look at this. This really is one of the most beautiful parks in the country, maybe even in the world. After Fresno, yesterday this was a nice change of scenery, and that's the fascinating thing about California is one moment you can go from one of the poorest and most crime-ridden areas in the country to this area of immense natural beauty.